Yeah, this should be season
Eighth episode.
3. What is this? This is May,
Yep.
first week of May.
Yep. So this would
So
be
this should be maybe episode 8 or
eight,
9, depending.
like episode 8. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, let's get that started right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Uh,
We're gonna go welcome. Yeah, you're just hilarious, bro. It's gonna go, yo, welcome to the wow, I have to say this is a disclaimer. This is how poorly or how excellently run this show is actually run. Born in Trouble, 4th season. We're gonna tell you what happened just now before we just did pre-production. We were talking about what episode number it was, and we came up and it was like, yo, 44, like, that's actually pretty high, for a season for the numbers. And Grant, always been the smart one, always the smart one in the room, reminded me, it comes up and he says, you know what? He goes, aren't we supposed to be in a new season by now?
I got you back, bro.
Thank you, bro. You're right. So actually, we're at the we just figured it out before the show. I believe it's the 7th episode of the 4th season, 4th season, 4th season. I'm born in trouble.
Yeah.
We're gonna figure it out one day. One day we're gonna get along. We're gonna figure it out. Somebody's saying, God damn it, why would I even listen to this fool? He don't even know his own show.
Hey.
From Detroit, Michigan, Mr. Grant Lancaster.
What up, though? How you feel, brethren?
Bro. The weight is lifted. We're in a new era. You know what? Honestly, the last 7 weeks, what I've been dealing with, because of course I talk too much.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've been dealing with. And it just never really occurred to me. A lot of times we're doing the recordings on these shows. These are I don't like to call it an afterthought, but it's been almost like an afterthought sometimes. To actually get the show done. But we want to, I feel like I still like the conversation and getting up with each other every week, and so
absolutely. That's what it's all about, man. Is the just being able to tap in with my brothers. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we have a good time, man. It's a lot of laughs. You know what I'm saying? We are who we are. You know what I'm saying? It's like really no surprises there. You know what I mean? But
right.
That familiar territory is everything.
Yeah. Episode numbers don't mean much in the grand scheme of things.
No.
Do they? No. Irrelevant. So, Grant, you had taken a couple of weeks off. You were doing the NFL draft. How was that experience, bro?
Yeah. So the draft came to town. The NFL is a different animal, man. The big swinging dick. The NFL brings that cash and they get it kind of how they want it most of the time. So for us, for the fire department, it was pretty much a kind of a workaround.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I mean, of course you still have a city to protect, but then you have the added dimension of the draft and it was like first night, man, it was like 275,000 people that hit the footprint on the first night. So I think it was like 700,000 or something at the end of the 3 days. Okay. So we set a record, for most people ever to attend a draft.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it was a great experience, man. I mean, we learned so much. just about how to interact with different entities. I made a lot of connects from other people at venues and other municipalities.
Mhm.
I mean, it was a great experience, man. It was something that I was really happy when it ended,
Right.
because the I'm way too old to be working a 20-hour day. Like,
Hmm.
20-hour day is like 4 days in succession.
Right.
I'm way too old for that, but it was a good experience though.
Well, you don't look it, brother, so that's like one good thing. You
Well,
still
thank you.
you still got the same face. It looks like you've lost a little bit of weight actually in the last couple of
Yeah,
days or weeks or whatever.
yeah, man. Yeah, I got, I think I mentioned to you I had got back on the grind. You know what I
Right.
mean? Just trying to get my body right, get my health right. It's a lot going on, man, and just watching. It's funny. As our parents get older, what I'm saying? My mom's is 84 now. My pops is 82. And just watching them get older, uncles, aunts, you know what I mean? Everybody's going through their little things.
Hmm.
And, I'm trying to avoid as much of that as I can.
I feel
And,
you.
yeah, just, muscle. Muscle is just one of those things that kind of keeps you young,
It does.
or at least helps stave off the aging process.
It does.
So,
People don't really understand that. How important it is to like keep a healthy, fit body. Like, part of like what's been bothering me recently is that because of that accident that I was in, I'm not able to work out on a regular basis like I normally was.
right,
And but what I've done is I try to like basically stave off the pain by doing a lot more walking than I've been
right.
doing previously. Because like what people don't realize is that, and I used to, like, you're in the fire department, you have to stay fit. You know,
Hmm.
I was actually a personal trainer for a long time, so it's like I actually brought other people to fitness and guided
Hmm.
them through fitness, as
Yeah.
well as like diet and exercise. And things change as you get older. Because at
Oh yeah.
one time my diet was almost mostly protein and greens,
Hmm.
and as I get older, I couldn't really, my body was giving me these adverse effects to too
Right.
much protein,
Right.
and I had to make adjustments. I had to make adaptations in order to keep going. And as black men, it's very important that we make those changes, don't you think?
Absolutely. And it's crazy that you mentioned you being a trainer. So you were actually the first person. I don't know. I don't even know if you remember this, but we were kind of working out a little bit. You know what I mean? Like you were way more into it than me, but you got me into it.
Hmm.
And it took me a long time to really, really latch on to it. But once I did, I mean, it's the best thing, man. I love it. But
It really is.
in terms of those changes, man, like you have to make them. I mean, you know, as much as I love fried chicken and
Mm,
mashed potatoes and macaroni and cheese and all that,
mm.
you can't do it the way that we used to do it.
Right.
And a lot of it is based on how food is brought to the table, I believe. But I mean, we are where we are. You know what I mean? If it's brought to your table in a foul way, and it's leading to these adverse effects, then you got to find the willpower to let it go.
I know Rob wishes he was in on this conversation right now. He's actually on his way home from a game right now. We just couldn't wait for him a little bit longer, but he actually gets a box that he calls it a box from this natural farm that's over by him. And
Hmm.
they just give him all the different vegetables, whatever it is, and whatever they have extra. And sometimes, like, he finds himself making a lot of different concoctions out of that because he's that vegan dude. I haven't
Right.
quite made the move to veganism, and I know Gene has basically moved into veganism as well. You know,
So let me tell you this. So Gene, when I was just in Atlanta,
okay,
so I went to Atlanta. I hooked up with Gene, and Gene took me to this raw vegan spot. I think the name of it was
yeah,
Tassili's or something like that. Anyway,
that's a free
this
shout
raw
out.
vegan spot. Yeah, raw vegan spot. They did this kale wrap It was on like a chili tortilla, the kale, it had like onions and okra and tomatoes. Everything was raw. Okra, tomatoes, guacamole. And it had this stuff called barbecue. I don't really know what that was, but it had an awesome flavor, man. Like I mean, it was great, man. I
Yeah.
loved it.
I mean, they're making all these creative foods, and different flavors out of these vegan diets. So, I mean, I don't know how it's going to work for me in my next iteration. I'm pretty sure pretty soon, within the next like 3 or 4 months, I should be back to working out like I normally do. I got my bike here. I can't even ride it, which is like
Right.
kind of disappointing to me. But once that all clears up, I'm looking forward to it. But I just want to go
Yeah.
back to the NFL thing for a second and for the
Sure.
city of Detroit. Like you had grown up in Detroit when it was like a big booming city. You were in Detroit when it was Motor City.
Right.
And that's a term that most people don't use when describing Detroit anymore. It's almost like an afterthought that it was
Right.
once the automobile hub of the United States of America. Was something like this event that happened this weekend, is that a boon to the city of Detroit?
I would say yes. I would say yes. Just the short answer. Here's the thing. So it takes a lot to put something like that together, right? It takes a lot of resources from the city initially in order to put something like that on, because over time you got to hire people to work these shifts. You still have a city to protect, and it's not just fire. It's police, it's fire, it's EMTs, it's Homeland. I mean, it's a lot of different entities. We bring in people from outside Oakland County. It just takes a lot to get it done. So it's money that you got to put out first in order to get the benefit. So the benefit don't really hit until the people start coming in, right? So once the hotels get booked, now restaurants are popping, bars are popping, people are just walking around. So boutiques and stores, I mean, as people are in the area,
Right.
things are benefiting, and people are benefiting too, because like I said, people are working,
Right.
And not just first responders, but I mean, there's plethoras of people, Uber drivers, Uber, Lyft, taxis, bus drivers, I mean, like it's just a busy time.
Right.
So yeah, it is a boom to the city. And then what's great is that in my mind anyway, is that we kind of showed out without showing out. You know what I mean? Like we yeah, we showed out in the good way, not in the bad way.
Okay.
Detroit is still, I'm not gonna say Detroit is not nearly as dangerous as it once was. It's overgone a lot of transformation, a lot of blight. Abandoned houses been torn down and rebuilt, and abandoned buildings have been repurposed, and all of that kind of stuff that goes on in all major cities. Detroit is not immune to any of that. But the cranes, you see the cranes in the sky wherever you are, but there's still that kind of mystique about Detroit, as it is about many urban cities.
Right.
You know what I mean? Chicago, New York, the Bronx, whatever. That mystique is still kind of there. So for the nation to be kind of looking at Detroit in these 3 days, and for all of the media that's here, everybody's putting on, you know what I mean? It was a really good look for the city.
Yeah, I think that's great, especially for a chocolate city, to be able
Mhm.
to step out that in that manner and basically, as you said, show out. I find it interesting with Detroit. You mentioned like, how you put the dollars out and the investment. So essentially they put out $1 in hopes of getting 2 or 3 back
Right.
for the city. And you feel like that actually worked. That's like the way that investment actually works. Why is it that only places like the NFL are the only places where we see these investment modes going out, where people are, where they're putting money in and they're allowing that dollar to generate? The reason why I ask that is because like every time I hear this, I was talking about it today. I had a conversation with a friend of mine. He's a fellow realtor, and we were talking about investment and how neighborhoods are. And of course, we're a little bit ideologically different, but we are essentially, in a lot of ways, we are ideologically on par. And one of the
Mhm.
things that we were talking about was we were talking about crime. Detroit is a city that is known traditionally for crime, but you say it's not as bad as it used to be.
No, not even close.
Not even close.
Yeah,
And when he was discussing crime, I was saying to him, I was like, but crime isn't what it used to be.
right.
You grew up in a time where you actually understood what crime was. Now we have one incident, and we've talked about this on the show plenty of times. One incident happens in the city, and now it's on, national news. It's citywide news because one
Right.
person got mugged. But, back in 1983, you had 15 people that went through the same
Hmm.
thing. That's actual crime.
Right.
This is just like, and in regards to like criminals, you're never going to completely and totally stamp out criminals because certain people are just predisposed to doing crime. It's just the way
Hey,
that it is, right? It's going to be some, but you
yeah.
don't have
I
to
mean,
create more. Go ahead.
so this is what I think, and it's funny. I just had this. I was just having this conversation. Um, Statistically, this is like the safest time, right? There's less crime, there's less murder, there's less of everything now than there once was.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at the news, if you look at uh social media, I mean, it would things would kind of tend to make you think that it was worse now,
Mm-hmm.
right? When I was having this conversation, I was having it with one of my neighbors in terms of our children. So at 8 years old, I was just kind of, I wasn't just roaming free, but I wasn't just in front of the house.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I was up and down the block. I was at my boy's house at 11. I was on my bike, and my mother had no clue where I was.
Right.
I took my bike and wasn't allowed to come if it was summertime. Take my bike out because I wasn't allowed to come back until it was like dark.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That was just kind of how it was. You come back to eat if you come back to eat, and then that's it. Get
Right.
right back outside. So I just think that when things happen, things always happened, right? And they're always going to be things that happen. But I think now that when things happen, it blows up because everything is more like we're a localized society now,
Right. It's
right?
the it's the whole perception is reality thing. And one of the examples that I used for him was I used in something that had occurred in the middle of the country, and like I forget exactly what it was, but and I'm like that has nowhere. It's nowhere near you. Doesn't affect you. Doesn't like have anything to do with you. But your opinion on it makes you think that crime is worse
Hmm.
because this is what's going on in Chicago, Illinois. This is what's going on in El Paso, Texas. This is what's
Right,
going on in Oxford, Mississippi.
right,
These are the things that people are manufacturing, and it just comes to me that it's just like the perception. It's the perception is what creates the danger, and we have whole wars that are going on right now, annihilations of people that is basically based upon that. We haven't really covered that as well, but Palestine is still happening.
right.
It's so unfortunate. My question is that if these people don't get fed, is that an act of war or is that an act of is that commerce controlling whether or not these people died or not? I don't like,
Right.
unalived, or as they say now, you have to say unalived that's not died.
Right. It
You know,
depends on what side. It depends on what side you want. If it
yeah,
if you're on the hungry side, it's an act of war,
it's an act of
right?
war, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hey,
You're not allowing us to eat. The whole thing
yeah,
is that the people that control the narrative are the ones that control the reality and the perception. And I can't go back to it enough times. And once again, I use the time travel model. We go back in time and we see some shit that's completely and totally crazy. I don't know who does the programming for television shows right now, and but right now, if you have Pluto TV or one of those side things, which I actually love those things because it has all the old shows that we
Mm-hmm.
used to love to watch, like Just
Mm-hmm.
Shoot Me and
Yes,
like
sir.
Cheers and all the shit that used to have us cracking the fuck up, you know. But but then it occurs to me the reason why they don't have these shows is because it speaks to a reality in America that no longer exists. And they don't want people to understand this. It also speaks to how America actually got to the point where it is today. And it's not a good thing. Most of the things that we were talking about, that we were pointing out, was that it wasn't really race that was being pointed out back then, it was class.
Right. Well, race is always there, right? And for particularly for us, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I mean,
Wow.
we look different, right?
Wow.
Right. So
Right.
race is always there, but to your point, class is really what was the determining factor.
Right.
Even if you were in the projects, so the Evans family, and it's funny because they got the new Good Times cartoon.
Right.
So Good Times, right? Even though they were in the projects, right? They still, attempted to act in a
Civilized.
way, right? Right. In a
Civilized
in a
towards
civilized manner.
civilized towards I don't want to say civilized. I don't want that to get misconstrued like civilized. I'm talking about in between the people that they interacted with.
Right. Right. Yeah, they
Right.
they were respectful people.
Right.
They're respectful people. They commanded respect and they gave respect. You know
And
what I mean?
most of the people that they dealt with the same way.
Right, did the same thing. Right, even though they were from the poor side of town, there was still that there was still that respect there. It's still, you still respected the parents. You know what I mean?
Right.
Even when before JJ got shot by Mad Dog,
Right.
when the parents came in, the gang members took their hats off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like it was that kind of deal. You
Mhm.
know, but as time has passed, man, like you can't go back to an age because that mentality is now gone, right? We've gotten past that mentality as a society.
Well, as a society, that's one thing. As a community, that's something completely different. Because as a community, we don't have to necessarily kowtow to what other societies or what other communities are doing. But we know the reason why that is right now, and that's because of the quote unquote bag. Okay.
Right.
So everyone's selling out for the bag. But before that, we're pretty much the only society, we're the only people in the world that don't respect elders. And that's really what it comes down to. We respect people with money, but we don't respect people with age and money.
So are we talking about Americans in general, or are we talking about American Africans?
We're going to talk about American Africans, people of the
Okay.
diaspora. We're going to like
Right.
break it down right now. This is the part of the conversation that gets to us. This
Okay.
conversation.
So if we're talking about us, it's not I talking about us is there's so many facets to talking about us that you have to consider, right? If we've been here 500 years, the first slave ship is supposed to be 1555, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's 1555, let's just round it up to 500 years. How long have we had autonomy to really do anything? 50?
None.
It's 2024, so that would be 74.
We've never had autonomy.
Well, I'm just saying the ability to like really move around, to really try to gain, to get a job, to really get a foothold, to really get an education, to really like move up the ladder. 50
I,
years?
I would say I would give 50 years to move around in all circles and at least have the ability to find soft landing spaces in hard Scrabble communities. Hard
Okay,
Scrabble communities for us, meaning the white ones, because
I'm in.
those are the ones that are basically the most um terrorist conflicts. That's
Right.
where most of the
Okay.
conflicts would come from.
So I'm
Okay,
in
you're
for that.
trying to
So
establish
you so
business.
so you say maybe 50. I'm gonna
Maybe.
get I'm gonna call it 75.
Okay.
We've been here for 500.
Okay.
Rounding up to 500, rounding up to 75. So that means for 425 years, we've been beaten, lynched, raped, murdered. Any horrible atrocity that has happened to any people in the world has happened to black people here, right? So in this age of mental health, wellness, all that kind of stuff, all of that 425 years of trauma is stamped on our DNA,
Mhm.
right? And then once it becomes who we are, now we get the ability to start moving around to try to get some bootstraps that we can pull up, right? So when you start talking about us as American Africans, right?
Mhm.
We don't have a homeland. We don't have a true history. We don't know who we are. Everything that we are in this country is something that we took from someone else, right? Yeah, and of course now we can
Uh,
learn who we are.
that's
Now we can learn.
Yeah, that's one thing I'll disagree because I would say that everything that we have, we've constructed with the tools that have been given to us, but it definitely
True.
was never taken from them or their cultures
I
because
got you.
everything that is American culture is Black
True.
American, if you want to call it. If you want to talk about music, this whole thing with Beyonce and the music and everything, it's such bullshit because country music is blues,
Right.
it's Black music.
Hmm.
Rock and roll is Black music. Orchestra,
I agree.
classical music,
I agree.
Beethoven, Black music.
I agree.
Okay.
And
So it's
but
like
here we,
all of these creations, and then if you want to talk about inventions
hmm
and
I'm in.
creations,
Right.
it's
But
like
so here's where the rubber meets the road. We 85, 10, and 5.
mhm,
The 85s are what move the needle,
mhm.
right? So if the 85s have to know. The 85s have that understanding that we invented this stuff. The 85s have to have the understanding in order for the needle to truly move.
But
And
they can't be convinced of that. They don't even want to be convinced of that.
my point. That's my
They're
point
they're
exactly.
I have to like say when I do take time off, I'll go on TikTok and I'll listen to some of these like incredibly brilliant and brilliant minds that are actually on the site. I understand why they want to take control of TikTok because TikTok is sort of like what MySpace was originally. What
Mm,
these places where you can come and you can find creation and collaboration. That is what TikTok is. TikTok is a space for the brilliant minds to actually espouse. It's also a place for some people to try to get their rent paid and everything. A lot of
right.
people to get their rent paid. But there are some people on there, on that site, that are just like, oof, they're
Yeah.
like out there. I was listening to this cat before this show, and it's this white boy, and he's at Oxford University, and he talks about Palestine and Israel, and he is just so brilliant with it. He's like
Hmm.
literally he's brilliant with it. And that's something that you can't even have that kind of conversation on most of these platforms.
Right.
And you generally have people who are coming from different positions expressing their points of view. And that's something that we're trying to suppress here. And especially before this election, they're trying to suppress these free thinking minds and these thought process. They don't want everyone to come to the net conclusion that we've got one guy who shits his diapers going against another guy who shits his diapers.
Right.
And nobody thought about an in-between option. This side didn't think about replacing this guy because hey, he's shitting his diapers. I'm not even going to get into all the other things. You can just figure out who it is. And then this side also didn't think about replacing this guy because hey, he's shitting his diapers.
Right. Right.
So
Well, one of those sides, rumor has it that women of color
mhm.
are becoming the prominent people in the party, and they don't really like that.
Well, we already know that.
Yeah.
We
So
already know that. See, the interesting thing about this conversation I had with this guy today, he's a really cool guy. I actually like him and everything, but I can see where the I always like have I don't want to say pity on those people, on people like that, but I just want to say I have awareness of what the struggle is and everything. I empathize. I can pretty much that's one thing about me. I can put myself in the shoes of any person from any race, color, religion, age, whatever, and actually come up with a logical hypothesis for how they must feel or how something must go based upon their background. That's part of my IQ score. Most people don't understand that because they can't empathize with their mom. You know, a lot of these people they can't empathize with anyone. They can only see themselves. You know, so in getting to my point with I almost okay, the reason why I kind of feel bad for him is because he's not a bad guy, but he has a daughter who is black,
okay.
26 years old. And I can see where he doesn't mean anything bad, but I can see where in his understanding certain things, I could see where it would be problematic, where his daughter would be like, nah, you're not getting it, Dad. Not understanding. And I was explaining to him how when Barack Obama ran for president, I was telling my girlfriend at the time, I was like, I think it's good that a black man's running for president, but I think it's too soon because I don't think white America is ready for it, honestly. And then I went on to express to her everything that's happened prior, what was going to happen, and now it actually did transpire. And one of the things that I said to this guy today is that you have to understand that there's a certain segment of America that would never want a Barack Obama to succeed because of his origin.
Right.
They don't want the narrative to be that a black and a white swirl could rule the world. That thought process is almost as scary as a fully black person running the world, because that means that if your daughter gets with their son, you might not just have to deal with the fact that you've been wrong about all these things. You might actually have to deal with it publicly or whatever the case is. But the reality is and he was his response to that was, can't be that many people. You know, what would you say? And I said probably about 25%. What would you think about that number would be?
Yeah. So here's what I think. I think the Barack Obama thing mobilized the 85% of white folk. So what I believe is that 85% of white folks were just going along because it was always them. You know what I mean? It didn't really matter. You know, you vote for whichever candidate you vote for, or you don't.
Right.
Obama comes along, it's no way that you think he's gonna win. If you've been in the 85s of white folks, it's no way that you think he's gonna win. And then when this joker wins and wins twice, oh hell no. That shifted the 85 of white folks. That shifted their 85s into mobility.
It shifted the narratives of the entire country. there are people, there are other races that were sitting there and were watching it saying, well, why one of them? Why, this is like this is like the ultimate in diversity hires,
Right.
Just
Hmm.
completely and totally blowing over what the person was. And my whole point was that, like, it ushered into a new era of politics, because before that, prior to that, that was the last time that both sides actually worked together to get things
Hmm.
done. Because there were certain districts in America that if you vote for anything, if you voted for anything Barack Obama one time, you weren't going to be able to retain your seat in Congress.
Hmm. Right.
That's the effect. That's what the ultimate Barack Obama effect, unintended effect was. And then the question becomes, like, would it ever have been okay? I thought that race relations were actually improving before that time. And I think that after 4 more years, I think we could have probably done it, probably would have happened, and it would have been less of a problem for anything. But
Hmm.
that's not the way that it went down. And things happen for a reason. And it's not Barack Obama's fault that a lot of white people, whether admittingly or unadmittingly, in the United States, are racist.
Or prejudice.
Prejudice. I
Yeah.
would right. You can't right. Prejudice would probably be true. I had this week I had a real epiphany moment. I got banned from Facebook for a day. For got banned from Facebook for a day because somebody was probably trolling my page, and they complained about something that I had put up like 3 years ago, and it was hardly egregious. It was like it was nothing. So I was just like, I was looking through these things, and I saw a TikTok, and there's this white guy that goes, I don't know why Black Gen Xers are mad because and then this black chick just jumps in, and she gives her description, and she just kills it. And what she states in the video is, it's because we grew up together, we went to the same schools. You said you were going to be different. You said you weren't going to
Hmm.
be like your parents. You weren't like your parents. And then it turns out that you actually are like your parents. We were vibing. We went to the same
Hmm.
parties. We danced to the same
Yep.
music, and
Yep.
everybody was cool. And since we're the fuck you generation, fuck you and find out generation, don't expect us to sit here and say nothing about it now.
Hmm.
And that was essentially her point. That is the first time I put up a post on Facebook that I got absolutely no likes on it.
Mm.
Nothing. No one touched it whatsoever. And the sad part about it is, like, it's not in looking for allies or anything. It's not an attempt to, like, reach out to anyone and everything. And I do know a lot of white people who I know are, like, really not even close to that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Completely opposite. And you know what? The thing is, like, it's like when I walk in the store and somebody yells nigger and I don't turn around, it's because it doesn't fucking apply.
Right.
If it doesn't apply, then it shouldn't bother you. But we've got such thin skin here.
Yeah. Everything is on the sleeve.
I
There is no, well, the ability to cope is a missing piece. Conflict resolution is a missing piece. Just going along to get along. You know what I mean? Like people can't do that kind of stuff anymore. And recognizing that there's a second generation crack babies are out there, right? And some of the first generation crack babies probably had babies with other first generation crack babies
Mm,
and made a super crack baby.
mm,
I mean, not to throw a stone or anything, but I'm just saying there's a lot of people who just can't handle anything, right? Their sensitivities are way too prominent,
mm,
and it's difficult. In my opinion, it's difficult to be able to get these people to like, you can't be that sensitive and be a productive member of society, because now everything becomes a problem. and you don't have the cognitive ability to be able to manage that problem.
Well, now you're mansplaining stuff, and you're also talking from a position of an old ass man's perspective. You see how easy that was? You see how easy that was, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I didn't even have to break a sweat. I didn't even have to change the inflection of my voice. You're
Yeah.
mansplaining stuff, and you're talking about that old head shit. You know what I'm saying? Go on, Unc. You know, nobody wants to hear that.
Right.
Go on, Unc, right?
Yeah.
But it's like,
Eh,
but this is elder voice and elder wisdom. And
Right.
what you're saying is basically you're saying the same things that our parents, our grandparents, and parents used to tell us. But the way they used to
Mhm.
say it was, boy, stop being so goddamn sensitive. Get your ass up
Right.
and go do X, Y, and Z. Right?
Right.
That's what we really want to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we can't say that now because you can't explain to them that way,
Yeah.
bro.
Yeah, you'll get
It
canceled.
ain't right. You get they on you. They on you. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
You know, there's no wins here. There's no wins. All these things that are common sense, they've added a layer to it to make it not common sense.
Right.
You know, the best person leads, whether they be white, black, well, let's just stick with black right now. Whether they be male,
Mhm.
female, um, gay, not gay, old, young, the best person, the one that comes with the right idea. It's not
Right.
about representing will leave your ass in a poor fucking situation with the
Mhm.
leader who is in or who with a leader who is in over their heads, whether they be male or female. Don't
Right.
tell me about some shit about some hypothetical matriarchy when the matriarchy is a hypothetical, it's a hypothetical period. And from what I've seen is that usually when women get power, they act like men with the power.
Right.
Absolute power. There's a reason why it doesn't say absolute power corrupts only men absolutely. The saying is absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Right.
It's gender neutral. How do we get these very common, simple, common sense things out there to the world when you're not even allowed to speak?
Would it?
I've heard
So
enough from you already.
there's there's some cats there's some cats that are out there that there's some cats out there that I've heard like talking to women about these sorts of things. And the question always kind of boils down to, because at a certain point you start talking about equality across, men and women equality. But at a certain point you realize that they're only talking about certain positions, right? And one of the ones that they always use is bricklayers. Like there's like no women bricklayers, or very few, right? And why aren't you screaming equality for that? Or construction workers, or whatever, the thing that's not the position that's
Glamorous.
not a position of power.
Right.
Right. The position that's not a position of power. Nobody cares if there's equality in those. They only care if there's equality in powers, in positions of power.
At the top.
Right. And that's to your point. People want to be powerful. And they want to be powerful because they want to make decisions. They want to make decisions because they want things to go a certain way.
Right.
Right. And that's where the absolute power corrupts absolutely.
Without ramifications.
Right.
Everybody wants the power without ramifications. And this is what makes Trump so attractive to his base. Because he had ramifications. Shit. That nigga was ski and
Right.
everything. Stormy Daniels and everything. I was watching
Yeah.
that thing.
Oh man.
You were watching that? I only saw a second, and what I saw was this guy was saying, yeah, and Stormy Daniels, she's lying on stage and she keeps on changing her position. I'm like, no, I can't believe that Stormy
Right.
Daniels would lie.
Right.
Why would she?
Or Donald.
Oh my.
Yeah. Why would I can't believe that she would lie, and I can't believe that Donald Trump would lie.
Oh my God.
So I mean, it's unheard of.
But bro, man, like, what is this world to come to when a stripper / porn star starts telling lies?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well,
Do
it's
we
supposed to be a
believe,
no-tell policy.
bro? But it's like so confusing. So is there or is there not sex in the champagne room? This is
No.
what we need to know. If she
There
says
is no sex.
no, but if she says no, does that mean yes?
Well, it's like I told you before. No means yes. Yes means
That's too deep.
that's what she said.
That's what she said. That's what she said. Yeah, okay. You know, I'm just like, not for nothing. I don't want to fight with any women about anything that has to do with the power dynamic or structure. My black ass does not have any ability to uplift you in that way. The ways that we have traditionally uplifted black women have been.
All this is going on the cutting room floor.
I love my sister. I mean, no, listen, man. I love my sister. I have to be. Listen, we're supposed to be working together to raise
Absolutely.
families. We're supposed to be working. That's my whole point. So it's like I have an open tent for everybody. You know what I'm saying? We just, we're supposed to be making and raising babies and making love.
This we know.
You know what I'm saying? This is what you're supposed to do. Listen, my baby making days is over. You know what I'm saying? I'm not making any babies anymore. I might as well be like strapped up, whatever. I might as well be snip, snip, snip. I'm not making no more babies. But as a black man and everything who wants to see the world become a better place and everything, I just want y'all to stop fighting these dumb fights. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
If you are, you shouldn't just gain position just because you are one thing or another. That is the same thing as a white person saying that they deserve the job because they are. They deserve the job over you just because of that. Now you deserve the job over somebody else just because of your gender. When do we ever get to a point where, we're two wrongs don't, like, you can't balance that shit out that way?
Well, I mean, people are selfish, man. That's just a fact. People are selfish. So anything that you can use to get things to go your way, typically people will use that.
See, I was about to make another wrong comment.
I know. I was looking at your face. I was waiting for it.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop it. I'm gonna help you out, Grant. You my tour.
Yeah. Help me.
You out. I'm helping you. Help me. Yeah. Help you. Help me.
Yeah. Help me.
Selfish. I just wanted. Look, I mean, the world is it's all going to hell in a handbasket real quick anyway. And a lot of these conversations that we have about black, white, if I really had the ear of black people, I'd just be like, run.
Right.
Run the fuck out of here. And like I say it in a joking way, but this world isn't getting better for anybody. It's not getting better for no matter where you are, unless you want to get a job as a bootstrapper. You're not a bootstrapper. You're a firefighter. You actually save people. You found that that soft spot between public service and doing the right thing. You found that soft spot that you can't not like a firefighter. Who hates the firefighters?
Absolutely.
Boy Scouts out in the woods trying to get their marshmallow fry on and everything melt on? They might hate firefighters if y'all go traipsing through and put out their fires and everything and ruin the marshmallow roast. But nobody else hates firefighters. Maybe the boyfriends of some of the chicks that are actually firefighter groupies They may
Right.
hate you, you know, but
Oh, those are typically police. But I'm
woo, no mercy, no mercy. So yeah, man. You know what? We're gonna start. We're gonna actually. Is there anything else you want to talk about? You want to get into tonight?
Man, look, I'm here, man. If you whatever you want to talk about, man. If you want to talk about something, my man. If not, look.
Yeah, I'm pretty much like, this has been a very good conversation with my boy Grant Lancaster from Detroit.
Yes, sir. Look, it's always a pleasure, sir.
Like, because otherwise I'm just gonna sit here and I'll start complaining about different stuff, and it just doesn't make any sense and everything. Next week is another week. I'll leave all the trivial, trifling stuff to the other podcast. I'll let them like run with it. I have no opinion on the Kendrick Lamar situation with Drake. I have no opinion whatsoever.
On what about the Quavo Chris Brown? Any opinions on that one?
No opinions on that either. And everything. Quavo needs a haircut. Is that an opinion? I don't know. Is that an opinion?
Oh, he got a haircut. Chris Brown gave him a haircut.
Well, there you go.
Chris Brown gave him a close shave.
Oof, not nice.
Yeah.
I can't keep up with the rap wars anymore, bro. I can't.
They don't have the same. And I know that they have the same for the people who are into this particular group of rappers. I'm just not into this particular group of rappers. So, when LL and Mo D were doing their thing, or, LL and Cannabis, or, whoever, Jay-Z and Nas, when they were doing their thing, yeah, I was all into it because those are my people.
Mm-hmm.
And, I love Kendrick. I love J. Cole, Drake, all these people. They're good artists, man. It's no diss, but y'all are just not my peer group. So I'm not as into them as I was with my peer group of MCs.
Yeah, it's not right. It's not right for me to talk about them as lyricists when I haven't listened to their albums over and over and over again, like I had, other artists in the past. It's just not right.
Yeah, well, you had to back in the days. You had to listen to, well, you, for example, had to listen to Yo Bum Rush the Show every morning, right?
Every morning.
Because it was going down when I got up.
No matter what.
Right?
Yeah. No matter what.
Yeah. But that's because music only came out on Tuesdays. Mm-hmm. Right? And Public Enemy, LL, these people made an album once a year. Right. If that. And there were no mixtapes. There were no Mr.
Magic. Mr. Magic Show was the mixtape.
Right. That was the mixtape.
Yep. You boop, and you try to stop the commercials.
Yep.
Try to get it synced up.
But you didn't have MCs freestyling on all these Ron G tapes and DJ Khaled and all. You didn't have that. You know what I mean? So you had to wait and you had to live with an album.
Right.
Now a dude could put an album out like right now. Yeah. And somebody probably is putting out one right now.
Yeah. Somebody did.
Yeah.
Every 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel it. I understand. It seems to me like a lot of it is contrived because this was like the first year that we didn't have a #1 rap album on Billboard, right? Like the first year that didn't happen. So they got to do something. They have to do something to get people interested and spice up the genre. And really, honestly, a lot of the rappers have been taken over by, once again, the white guys. Macklemore come in here, the Post Malones, and
right.
and this is not a knock on them because they're artists, they're lyricists, they're doing their thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're doing whatever it is. But the simple fact of the matter is that their audience and base is like naturally bigger.
right.
They
Yeah,
want to, the whole Eminem crowd, they want to have other
right. They,
generational like
they
artists.
want the next Eminem.
They want
They
the
want the
next
next
thing.
Eminem. Eminem right now seems like a one-off.
Right.
He's Eminem is third base on fucking steroids,
Yeah.
right? So third base was nice
Right.
lyrically. Eminem is ridiculous lyrically, you
Right.
know. There, but he's a one-off. There is no like, I mean, Post Malone and them. I mean, they have some lyrics, yeah, but they
They're
not
not
like
him.
anybody that you would be like, oh my God, did you hear what he said? They're
Right.
not that type of rapper like
But what,
Eminem is.
but what Eminem is he's actually a pioneer who actually opened up the genre and made it okay for many white kids to actually listen to rap music.
Yeah, yeah,
And now those people generationally, their kids are now listening to Post Malone, Macklemore, whoever the other guys are when they come out. Um,
right.
I don't know any of them more than I know the other cats, but I think it's important, but it's a shift. It's a shift in music.
Yeah.
Black artists used to sing R&B songs in the 50s,
Hmm.
and artists would go behind them and do the exact same song, a different version,
Right. Yeah.
and chart and go platinum. So it's sort of like what's happening with rap music right now is everybody has basically co-opted the rap music and co-opted the rap music. I heard Bill Cosby when I said that. Anyway, listen, Grant Lancaster,
My man.
Born in Trouble, episode number question mark. I guess we'll find out when we put it
Yeah.
up. We're actually going to do some interesting things this year. I'm going to go guerrilla a little bit more, and we'll see what happens. But Grant, thank you for coming back. Thanks for sharing your experiences at the Super Bowl this year with us.
Always a pleasure, bro.
Yes. And I'll see you next week, bro.
Without
And
a doubt.
if you're listening to this or watching it live on stream, Born in Trouble, questionable number episode. Peace.
Peace.
And we're out.